along with your SBI job, full-time job, and where was that motivation to work every day towards your RBI?
So self-confidence is something you should practice even if other people are saying you that you're not performing good or you're not able to do well. Chuck them off. It's not necessary. Just practice self-confidence within yourself. अपने पे भरोसा रखो so everything falls in place.
Hello everyone and welcome to EduTap. So today I have with me in the studio Miss Palak, who has cracked the RBI Grade B 2022 examination in her second attempt. Palak, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
And heartiest congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
कैसा feel हो रहा है?
Sir, it's honestly a dream come true for me. So obviously, great feeling.
Great feeling.
Yes, sir.
This was your second attempt, right?
Yes, sir.
And I remember that in the first attempt you were very close.
Yes, sir.
You cracked phase 1, you cracked phase 2, you reached the interview in the very first attempt.
Yes, sir.
तो उस वाले attempt से what did you learn?
So in my first attempt, I believe since there was a pattern change that year, so I believe I lagged in my subjective answer practice a bit. So this time I've improved in that. And also in interview, although I got a decent score last year, I got 53 on 75 and missed the final cut by 7 marks overall. So had I improved a little bit on my other knowledge areas and overall experiences, I believe I would have been able to perform better in interview. So that could have increased my score. And this year I have tried to do that.
Okay. तो were you a little bit lenient in your first attempt कि पहले attempt में ही पहुंच गया इंटरव्यू तक थोड़ा सा बंदा lenient हो जाता है तो ऐसा भी कुछ था या you were pretty serious?
No sir, I won't say I was lenient, but since I joined SBI that year, so when my phase 2 and joining clashed, so I didn't get that much time for phase 2. So I believe that was one of the reasons.
Okay. So everyone, Palak का जो educational background है, let me tell you all about that. She did her BTech in the year 2020 from UIET Chandigarh. This was her second attempt at RBI. I already told you that. She also cracked SBI PO in her very first attempt. So I also had a very good conversation with her regarding your SBI PO strategy as well.
Yes.
I remember those were the COVID days, है ना?
Yeah, yes sir.
So if you want to see that video, I'll just put a link to that video also in the description box of this video. So if someone wants to listen to a strategy for SBI PO, because cracking this exam in the first attempt is pretty difficult, and she managed to do that as well. Let me also tell you in brief her score for the RBI Grade B examination. Phase 1, you all know there are 4 sections: Quant, Reasoning, English, and GA. She had a very good score. Quant was 8.25, Reasoning was 16, English was 23, and GA was 37. So a total was around 83 marks, which is 20 marks above the cutoff,
yes.
for the general category.
Yes.
In the interview, she scored 68 out of 75 marks in the RBI Grade B second attempt. This is also a very, very good score, very good score. So I'll be diving deep into her strategy for phase 1, phase 2, as well as interview. So Palak, let me first start with SBI.
Yes.
Cracking RBI is one thing. Cracking RBI with SBI is another thing.
Yes, sir.
Right, because you people don't get a lot of time, right? You have to go to the office. So how difficult was that? How did you manage your time along with your SBI job, full-time job? And where was that motivation to work every day towards your RBI dream?
Yes, sir. So basically it was during 2020, the COVID period, wherein I started my RBI preparation wholeheartedly. So during that phase, I tried to build upon my basics and everything. So from that year itself, I had this desire in me that I want to crack this examination and serve Reserve Bank of India as a Grade B officer. And therefore, I started preparing for it. And in 2021, when I couldn't make it to the final list with a narrow margin, so I was obviously heartbroken as any other candidate would be. So this time, I did not want to leave any stone unturned, in my preparation at least, so that I could give my 100%. And even if result is not in my favor, I won't have any such thing in my mind that I couldn't give my 100%. So that is the reason that I lagged this time. So sir, I tried my best to give at least 3 to 4 hours on daily basis along with my job to this preparation. On weekends, I could stretch it to 6 to 7 hours. And I believe for a working candidate, it's not possible to devote so many hours into study. So consistency is something that we should practice on daily basis. So on daily basis, even if you're able to give 2 or 3 hours to your study, but that's done consistently every day. So I believe that would yield you positive results. That is the key.
सही है. So Palak, you talked about consistency.
Yes, sir.
Now we have thousands of students enrolled with us, but this is one quality that they lack.
Yes, sir.
है ना, से दे टॉक टू मी, दे से सर हफ्ते से तो बहुत अच्छा पढ़ा था, उसके बाद 2 हफ्ते निकल गए, पता ही नहीं चला कहाँ निकल गए.
Yes, sir.
तो व्हाट वाज योर, मैं क्या बोलूँ, सीक्रेट फॉर कंसिस्टेंसी? बिकॉज कंसिस्टेंसी डज नॉट कम easy. It is very difficult to maintain that momentum. If I am studying 2 hours, I'll study 2 hours every day. If I am studying 3 hours, I'll study 3 hours every day, because after a few days एक फीलिंग आ जाती है कि यार बहुत पढ़ लिए, लेट्स टेक अ ब्रेक.
Yes.
और वो ब्रेक कब 1 दिन से 2 दिन से 1 हफ्ता हो जाती है, पता नहीं चलता. तो आपके साथ ये होता था, या इट यूज टू बी वेरी यू यूज टू बी वेरी कंसिस्टेंट कि रोज पढ़ना है, रोज ही पढ़ना है?
No, sir. Obviously, it happened with me as well. But I believe when you have a good peer study group, then or a study partner, I must say, then I think it's become a bit easier. As I had a friend of mine, Aditi, so we used to give each other targets every day. For every day, we used to keep targets, and then at the end of the day, we used to ask each other questions. So that thing is there in mind for the whole day, that yes, at night I have to give this test, or I have to perform better than her. So that was the thing. So that kept me going, and also the inner desire, if you have for any job or examination, then that itself pushes you towards your goal. So that is the key, I believe.
That is nice. So having a study partner always helps, है ना?
Yeah,
अगर वो
yeah.
उतना ही सीरियस हो,
Yes, sir.
if
Yes,
that
sir.
study
that
partner
is
is
a
not serious,
precondition.
तो वो
Yes,
आपको
sir.
भी नीचे लेके जाएगा.
Yes, sir.
Nice. ठीक है पलक, now let me come to the interview stage first, then I'll come to phase 2, then phase 1.
Okay, sir.
Interview this year you scored 68,
Yes, sir.
and last year it was 53,
Yes, sir.
right? So 68 out of 75 is a very good score, very good score. What happened? क्या किया आपने? तैयारी क्या थी? मॉक इंटरव्यू के थ्रू कुछ किया था, या खुद को प्रिपेयर कैसे किया था? That is my basic question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, as I told you earlier, that this time I wanted to give it my best at RBI. So, for interview, I got nearly 2 months after the phase 2 examinations. So, in those 2 months, I prepared myself in a very holistic manner. I went to the RBI's website, and in that website, I covered each and everything that is relevant from interview point of view. And also covered the major document reports by RBI, like the functions and working PDF of RBI. I covered it from page to page by taking a printout of it and getting it spiraled, and I used to even highlight all the stuff in that, because see, the organization in which you want to get, you should know everything about it. That is something you cannot miss upon. So I tried to do that, and then I went through the currency PDF report that RBI releases, and annual report of RBI. Not from page to page, but I tried to cover the major chapters in it, the major topics to be focused upon. And then newspaper reading was a constant part of my preparation for interview. That was done, and also I tried to build upon my profile this time compared to last year. So I did one course that was suggested to me by Shivam sir, and he suggested to do a risk management course in banking that was on EDX platform. It was a free of cost course. So I believe that since RBI is an organization that does the supervision of banks, so this risk management is an area that it focuses upon. So keeping that in mind, I chose this course, and this helped me, I believe, a lot. And even I was asked questions on this course from the panel members, and they were impressed by this course that I have done. And then my SBI profile this time, it also helped to an extent. And all these things, sir, I believe have helped me this time to crack and get this much score.
Okay, that is nice. So I'll just summarize what she just told. RBI website,
Yes, sir.
functions and working of RBI ka PDF,
Yes, sir.
then the annual report of RBI, not page to page obviously, you just went through the important sections.
Yes, sir.
Then you worked on your profile because you were working with SBI, so you also took a course of risk management by EDX.
Yes.
That's a free of cost course. ठीक है, तो Palak, how afraid were you or how confident were you during the interview? Because interview is something जिसमें we can never be sure कि things, questions will fall in our domain, है ना? Obviously we can steer the interview, we can direct the interview, सब बातें हैं. Obviously you can do that. बट इट इज़ ऑलवेज क्वाइट पॉसिबल कि कुछ क्वेश्चंस आ जाएंगे ऐसे, या आ सकते हैं ऐसे जो आपके कंफर्ट जोन में ना हो. तो हाउ डिड यू डील विद सच क्वेश्चंस? कुछ ऐसे क्वेश्चंस आए, अगर आए तो आपने कैसे डील किए, क्या हुआ था?
So I would say that I could not answer many questions in my interview which I was asked, and it's not that I was able to answer each and every question. That was not the case. I believe for RBI interview or for any interview, the esteemed panel that is there in front of you, they check you from every perspective. Like, I believe the way you dress up, the way you enter the room, the way you sit, the way you talk, everything is taken care of. And they ask you questions, and they are not always going to be the expected questions that you believe will be asked to you, but some unexpected questions and would also be thrown at you. But the way you respond to them, even if you don't know a question, the way you say sorry, or the way you, like, I remember I was asked a question by a ma'am, but I told her that, ma'am, sorry, I don't know, I'll certainly read on it. So that was something I could see on her face, that she was like okay with it, even if you don't know. But the way you respond to that thing, that okay, you don't know this, but still you are not, just beating around the bush or saying anything. You are just being straight and telling them that okay, I don't know this. And for the questions that you know, the way you present them. And since in one question I was asked, and in that I highlighted one of the speech by deputy governors that happened in the past recently, and by telling his name also. So, and I also told some of the facts from that speech. So that, I think, impressed them. Or it's always good to read about the organization that you want to be part of. So I had went through those speeches on the RBI website, and that proved to be helpful. So all those things I think are important.
Correct. And I remember very vividly कि interview से पहले ना we were having a chat on WhatsApp कि I couldn't take your mock interview, तो कि ये questions मुझे बना के दे दो.
Yes, sir.
Then you were answering those questions. You were very थोड़ा सा डर रहे थे आप उन क्वेश्चंस को लेके कि जो आजकल पूछ रहे हैं ना कि कौन सी बुक पढ़ी आपने, कि सर मैंने तो कोई बुक नहीं पढ़ी. तो वो चीज़ों को आपने कैसे ओवरकम किया कि अगर उन्होंने पूछ लिया तो मैं क्या बोलूँगी?
Sir, I want
because they were asking this question to many people कि कौन सी बुक लेटेस्ट पढ़ी आपने?
Yes, and sir, I really want to thank you personally for that. HR questions में you helped a lot. I was very skeptical about how to answer those questions, but as you told me that there's no need to fake it or say if you haven't read a book, no need to say that oh, I have read this book or do just the gist of it. That's not important, because they are very experienced people. They'll get to know that whether you are lying or you're saying the truth. So that truthness, if you have that, truthfulness, you have that in you, so that will reflect in your personality.
Correct.
So that is something I kept in mind.
बहुत सही है. Palak, now let me come to the phase 2 and let me tell you a very interesting thing कि Palak cracked the phase 2 by a margin of 0.75 this year. So our interview, took her to the finalist. जिसका मतलब ये बिल्कुल नहीं है कि she was not good in phase 2. It always depends, है ना? तो this should be a message or a inspiration to all the future aspirants. Even if your one paper does not go as well as you were expecting it to, you can still make it to the finalist. Never say never.
Yes, sir.
Right? तो never say never वाली चीज़ है कि इनका ESI में मार्क्स कम है, FM और इंग्लिश में बहुत अच्छे हैं, but since her interview score is so well, so she is in the finalist.
Yes.
Right? तो मुझे थोड़ा सा phase 2 के बारे में बताइए पलक कि ESI, FM, Descriptive English. The stage is all yours. जैसे आपने बताइए ESI, FM, English. क्या किया आपने?
Sir, for phase 2, I had the EduTap course. I had it for 2021 attempt also. In 2021, I took the entire course of phase 1 plus phase 2. But in 2022, I took only the phase 2 course, since I was done with the phase 1 syllabus earlier. So for subjective answer writing, see, right now the kind of paper that is asked, the questions that were asked in ESI this time, they were really very tough. And if you see the average marks that people have got in the objective, the selected candidates, it's nearly 50 or 40 to 50 out of 100. The objective score combined of ESI and FM. So in such a scenario of paper that is asked, and if that trend continues for the coming years as well, I believe that answer writing or descriptive answer writing is one such thing that can guarantee you good marks if you practice well on that area. So for subjective answer writing, what I did was I made my short notes on every topic that was given in the syllabus. So for example, if you have a topic inflation in the syllabus, so I had in my notes inflation, types of inflation, cost push, demand pull, everything I have written in my syllabus, but short crisp notes. So for that, I used the help of Google, EduTap's Q&A material and the fodder material that was provided for descriptive answer writing, and any such material of any other coaching institute also if I came across. For example, for ethics, I referred to the RBI Grade B PDF that was there in the Telegram groups. So that from those I took help and I made my own notes, and then I compared it with the model answers that was given in the EduTap course for every chapter. So I could actually compare that how well am I writing and how is it compared to the model answer. So that could do. You can obviously share your answers among your friends and you can analyze each of your answers, and that way also you get a good understanding of how well are you writing. And then for grammar, Grammarly is a platform that I used for writing answers that actually gives you and tells you where are you lacking or what are the grammar mistakes that you do on a daily basis. So that way you can improve on those areas. So this way I did my descriptive answer writing. For ESI objective and talking about this year's paper, for the future aspirants, I would like to say that schemes is an area that you should focus upon, and that should be done holistically. So what I did was I referred to the schemes tab document that was released by EduTap monthly, and I did it for the 7-8 months of last like preceding the examination. That I covered, and with those monthly documents I also referred to base document that they provide for the flagship schemes.
Main schemes document.
Yes, sir. So if a scheme is there in current affairs and that is related to any flagship scheme, then I used to go back on that document and used to highlight, okay, so this was a part of this flagship scheme, and these are the major changes that are done now in the scheme. So that way you get a holistic coverage of the scheme, and considering the kind of questions that were asked this time from schemes, you need to cover each and every scheme holistically, like its launch year, the budget allocation, and everything I believe should be done. Then only you will be able to crack the question in the examination. And the second thing that is important for ESI objective is the reports that are released by major organizations. So for that, I used the Affairs Cloud Study PDF. In that, they give a section as reports and indices. So I covered that for the last 8 months before the examination. And also I used to Google like the major reports that are there for World Bank. So for example, I used to type Ease of Doing Business report by World Bank UPSC on Google. So by doing that, you get entire information at one area only related to that thing. So this way I covered the ESI objective portion, because in phase 2, the major chunk is of reports, PDFs and the schemes. And the GA that you cover for phase 1, that also helps you in phase 2. So I believe the areas that are common for phase 1 and phase 2, that GA should be done integrated manner that should be done for both phase 1 and phase 2. Now talking about FM, for finance, I refer to EduTap's course only, as I had given an attempt earlier also. So I had my basics done for finance this time. For management also, I refer to EduTap's content sheets and summary sheets. For objective part, I would say that content sheets should be referred, because they help you develop that holistic understanding, so that in examination you're able to relate things well. So even if there's a question that needs a holistic understanding of something, so you can do elimination and smart guess could be applied, but that could be done only if you have read things in detail earlier. So for objective part, I referred to content sheets. I did them in a proper way. But for subjective part, I referred only to the summary sheets, because I think in the course many things are covered. But for subjective, the topics that are there in the syllabus, I think those are enough to do so that you can make your notes on them. So for subjective, I referred to the Q&A PDFs, the fodder material that was given. Yeah, this was done, sir.
Correct. बहुत कुछ आपने बताया, मैंने नोट कर लिया साथ साथ में. तो I have certain counter questions.
Yes, sir.
You did not mention any book.
Yes, I did not.
So RBI notification has mentioned a lot of books.
Yes, sir.
Finance, management, ESI, certain publications as well. Ki ye report, ye magazine. How important are books for RBI preparation? I'm asking in the context of if someone is starting with the RBI Grade B preparation. So generally what we see is they first go and buy NCRTs. Right, then they go and buy all the standard books that are written in the notification. Then they spend 6 months, 7 months, 8 months reading those books. Yes. Then they realize maybe they are not so important. How important are books according to you?
Sir, I remember I had this discussion with you in the initial phase of my preparation. And for a full-time aspirant, I can say that even if you are buying a book and you are referring it, then that is feasible. But for a working candidate, going through books, such bulky books is not feasible. And coaching institutes nowadays, I believe they provide good material, and that is something that can be relied upon. But obviously, if you think that they lack on certain subjects or topics, then you can refer them from Google or any other. See, books can be kept as a base. See, if you're not understanding any topic, then you can refer it from the book. But if I say that the entire syllabus you have to cover from book, then that is not feasible, and that is also not advisable to do. So since you have such materials in the market now, you can refer them, and they already have done their research in designing those materials. And if you see the past year papers, then you will get to know that, okay, these are the kind of questions that are asked, and if I cover this material, then I'll be able to solve them. So that thing, I think that would help.
मतलब सिर्फ बुक्स खरीद के उसको पढ़ने बैठ जाना is not advisable.
No, sir.
Books are always, they're not bad. Obviously, they're
Yeah,
good books.
yes.
We also make content from books.
True.
But books को पढ़ने से पहले previous year questions and syllabus को अगर देख लिया जाए,
Yes,
तो that makes a lot of sense, है ना?
Yes, sir.
Correct. You did not mention any newspaper also.
Yes, sir.
So again, my second question is newspapers. Again, we have a lot of newspapers in the market: Hindu, Indian Express, Business Standard, Live Mint, Hindu Business Line,
Yes.
so on and so forth. So how important is the newspaper for any phase 1, phase 2 interview? And if it is important, then which newspaper would you prefer?
Okay.
Yeah.
So sir, I think that for phase 1 and phase 2, newspaper is not that important as it is for interview phase. But if you have time, then obviously I would suggest that go for Business Standard. It's a great newspaper. You can read it. You can give at least 1 hour to it on daily basis and can make your notes from it. But since I did not have that much time being a working candidate, so I refer to the coaching materials, PDFs and the sheets that they provide. That covers entirely the GA that is prevalent or is there in the market. So that suffices it.
Understood.
And I would say that for phase 2 especially, if you read Business Standard, then considering the kind of paper it was this year, that would help you in scoring a bit higher on a bit higher side if you read newspaper. And also for ESI, I would like to highlight that PIB is also an important part this time. So if you go through the PIB updates on a daily basis, so what you can do is that what I used to practice, what I used to refer to PIB at night for half hour, you can go through it. I could not do it that regularly, so I would say that if you are able to do it, and then you should actually cover it on a daily basis. And on weekends you can revise that what all you have read in the weekdays. You can revise it from the PIB website, and then you can use any compilation that is given by a coaching institute. That can be referred to, because PIB has a vital importance now in the ESI current affairs.
Very important.
So that should not be left. And also for FM, RBI notifications play a great deal. So I forgot to highlight it earlier that I also refer to EduTap's RBI notification that were released on a monthly basis. So I refer to them. But I believe there was a lot of content, but you always need to see that what all content is important and what is not. Like you have to read between the pages in that sense. So that can only be done when you have an understanding of the previous year questions that are asked. So I would suggest that first of all, if any one of you is going to start the preparation, go to the previous year question papers and analyze the kind of questions that are asked. So that would give you a nice understanding of the examination.
Correct. And Palak, one more question. How important is notes making?
Yes, sir.
Because I again see a lot of students who read the course or they read a book. Let's say they are doing self-study, but they postpone notes making for a later date. कि पहले पढ़ लेते हैं, notes बन जाएंगे बाद में.
जी sir.
How important are notes for the examination?
So sir, talking about the note making, aspirants usually ask this question for GA, like the phase 1 GA or the other parts of phase 2. So what I used to do was, especially for phase 1 GA, I used to refer to the phase cloud detailed PDF. So I used to take out the printout of every month and used to spiral it, and in that only I used to highlight the important stuff related to any news that was given. So when I was revising, I just used to go through the highlighted stuff only. So note making, I did not do that much for the objective part or the GA part, but as I said earlier, I did it for subjective answer writing.
Correct.
That was something I kept in mind, that I had proper notes for answer writing and subjective questions.
Correct. One more question, ESI, static.
Yes, sir.
Because as we have been seeing, ESI is getting very current affairs oriented.
Yes, sir.
Government schemes, reports, blah, blah, blah. But the static part is losing its importance.
Yes, sir.
But if you look at the syllabus, there are nana karte hue bhi 15-20 chapters.
Yes, sir.
Growth and development, poverty alleviation, employment generation, sustainable development, blah, blah, multiculturalism, Indian political system,
Yes.
social movements. So for a newbie or for a rookie, should he or she go through all the chapters of ESI, or there are some important chapters that you read, or should they leave the static part completely?
So I would say that considering ESI, for objective part, static part has lost its relevance to an extent. But for subjective part,
Correct.
static part is something you should build upon initially, because you'll be able to write a good answer if your basics are clear.
Right.
If you have a good foundation, then only you are able to write on it. So I believe if a person is starting with his or her preparation, you can get the +1 +2 economics NCERT from the market. You can read them. That will help you to build up your basics of ESI, and then you can jump on to the coaching material and every other thing that is there in the market.
Understood. The basic, the terminology of economics.
Yes, yes, sir.
Now, if you don't know what is repo rate, so it will be very difficult to even understand the current affairs.
Yes, sir.
Understood. Descriptive English.
Yes, sir.
Because again, ESI and FMS such that we focus on that, but descriptive English is something that we assume that we are good at.
Yes, sir.
क्या इंग्लिश ही तो है, ऐसे लिखना है, कितनी बड़ी बात है, लिखे हैं बहुत सारे, लिखे हैं स्कूल में, तो कोई खास बात नहीं है. तो how important is descriptive English in the scheme of things of phase 2?
So sir, descriptive English is a very important part of this examination. And considering the unpredictability of the ESI and FM questions, English is one such area that guarantees you good marks if you have done well and practiced well in that area. So for descriptive English, I believe if you have a habit of reading newspaper, but I believe not the entire newspaper, if you just go through the editorials on a daily basis, like I had in my phone the InShots app or the Mint app. So I used to go through the important articles on a daily basis while you are commuting or any such activity that when you are doing, you can go through them. So in that way, you develop a good understanding of the subject also, like you get a good content on it, and also your answer writing or the writing of essays or the précis, that improves.
Correct.
And after that, you can obviously practice it. You can do it on Grammarly, as I said before. That helps you to channelize your content well and the grammar mistakes that you are doing. So in this way, you are able to do well in English. But I believe for English, it's more of practice. So if you do that consistently on daily basis, if you're a person who is good at English naturally, then it's fine. But if you're not one such person, then practice is the thing on daily basis that you should do.
Understood. Let's come to phase 1. I have two very important questions. One is, if someone is starting their preparation now,
Yes, sir.
or let's say not now, they have 6 months before the notification, should they prepare for phase 2 first or phase 1 first? First question. Second, while preparing for phase 1, the general question is, sir, quant, reasoning and English का level तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा है, because it's RBI,
Yes,
so it is even above CAT, above IBPS PO mains, SBI PO, it is above that.
Yes.
How true is that? So first, should they focus on phase 2 first or phase 1 first when they're starting their prep? And second, what is the actual level of the examination? Year on year, because you have taken 2 attempts.
Yes, sir.
You must have noticed the difference.
Yes, sir.
So what is that?
So sir, answering the first question, I believe if we consider the current timeline, that now since they're saying that the phase 1 examination could be in May or the notification could be out by March, April. So I believe if you prepare phase 2 first, like for till December, January, if you're practicing phase 2, answer writing well, considering covering your objective part well, current affairs, that would be good. 1 month before phase 1, I believe you can skip the phase 2 preparation, and then you can jump onto the mocks and the practice of QRE on daily basis. So this way, I believe that you will be able to cover phase 1 and phase 2 both in an integrated manner. And after phase 1, obviously, you can jump to the phase 2 preparation.
I have a counter question here.
Yes, sir.
Because students generally what they do, they start with phase 1. बिकॉज ये थोड़ा सा माइंडसेट रहता है कि पहली स्टेज, फिर सेकंड स्टेज, फिर थर्ड स्टेज. थर्ड तो कोई सोचता ही नहीं है, इंटरव्यू तो चलो मारो गोली, कोई ध्यान ही नहीं देगा. बट दे स्टार्ट विद फेज 1 के पहले क्यूआरई करते हैं, करंट अफेयर्स को रट्टा मारते हैं. फेज 1 होगा, फिर देन वील थिंक अबाउट फेज 2. इज दिस द राइट अप्रोच अकॉर्डिंग टू यू?
So although it's that ki phase 1 you'll qualify phase 1, then only you'll go for phase 2. But if you see that phase 1 is only qualifying and phase 2 is something that guarantees you in the merit list. So obviously phase 2 has a higher importance, but I won't say that neglect phase 1 completely, because obviously when you clear phase 1, then only you will reach phase 2. But if you are a person who is good at QRE or who has an average understanding of QRE, you can first of all you should be able to cover the concepts of phase 2 properly, and then you can go to the phase 1 or on daily basis. Say for example, when I was in my first attempt, so I used to do the ADDA quizzes that were there on their app. On daily basis, I used to give 1 hour at night for those QRE quizzes that was there. So this can be done. You can divide your timing between phase 1 and phase 2. So if you have that fear of QRE, on daily basis also you could cover QRE, giving it some time.
Understood.
And the next question that you asked, about the level of toughness. I believe with each passing year, obviously the level of QRE is increasing. Last year also it was on a tougher side, and this year as well, as we can see from the sectional cutoffs itself. But I believe that since GA is 80 out of 200 marks, so if you are not that good at QRE and with a smart strategy, if you can cover GA well, so that if you're able to score even 40 or 35 in GA, so getting around 25 and 30 and in QRE won't be a that difficult thing.
Correct.
So in this way, if you channelize your strengths and weaknesses in a proper manner and then devise your own strategy, then I believe you will be able to do this in phase 1.
मतलब ये ईगो पे नहीं होना चाहिए कि क्वांट पे 25 लेडी लेने हैं.
Yes sir. No,
वो नहीं आएंगे.
No sir.
है ना? Obviously
That's
नहीं आएंगे.
not doable also. I would
doable
say.
ही नहीं है.
Yeah.
Correct. अच्छा, coming to the strategy of phase 1.
Yes sir.
Quant के लिए क्या, reasoning के लिए क्या, because you had already had your SBI preparation.
Yes sir.
I think it came in handy for RBI,
Yes,
है ना?
Yes sir.
तो बिल्कुल बता दीजिए, मतलब QRE के sources बता दीजिए, क्या करना चाहिए.
So sir, I would talk about my SBI preparation only because that only helped me to build up my base for QRE. So as I said earlier, that I had the phase 1 plus phase 2 course combined of EduTap, and in that the phase 1 course I did QRE from that only. But for any person who is starting now, I would say that YouTube is a great source now. That in YouTube you'll get many free resources that you can use for your QRE preparation. So for Quant, even this time I refer to Ashish Arora's videos on YouTube, and also my note making was there earlier from the EduTap's videos, so that also I referred. Then reasoning I referred to Ankush Lamba sir's video. First I referred it only for the certain topics that I was weak at. So you can analyze your mock scores and then devise your own strategy that which areas you need to focus upon, and for those areas you can watch some videos and do the practice of those questions only. And for English, I would say that the daily reading that you do, not only of newspaper, anything that you read or the questions that you practice, as I said earlier about the Adda quizzes, in that you get the daily quizzes of English. And also I refer to certain Nimisha Bansal's ma'am videos on YouTube for certain areas I was weak at. So in this way I covered QRE, and obviously then mocks is something that helps you ace your score. So I refer to the practice mock series. I had purchased it for phase 1. I was also doing the since EduTap and many of the coaching institutes, they have released their all India mocks for phase 1. So I took them seriously, analyzed my mistakes, and I analyzed the mock test that I gave. See, giving mocks is one thing, but analyzing it is another. I think it should be focused. Your focus should be more on analyzing. You cannot perform well in every mock that you give. See, I often see students that they get disheartened that I couldn't score much in a mock. That is okay. But if you're able to analyze well on what mistakes you have did earlier and you're able to build up on that, so that will obviously help you ace your score. So in this way, I referred for QRE phase 1. For GA, I would say that I referred to once, as I told earlier, a Fails Cloud detailed PDF. And many people complain that it's a very bulky PDF of 200 plus pages and people are not able to cover it. But when you go through the previous questions, as I told earlier, you will be able to see a pattern of questions that is asked and what news is important and what is something to be skipped. So when you go through that PDF, then you will be able to highlight that this is something I should not read or this is important, and then make your own notes out of it or just highlight it as I used to do, and then revise it. So in this way, I used to cover the phase 1 GA. Also, I supplemented it with a study IQ course of Gaurav sir that I had purchased. I used to listen to his daily videos on current affairs. So by listening, actually, you develop a better understanding also, and you're able to retain also in a better manner. So these two things that I did for GA that helped me. And after that, practicing mocks, analyzing, all those things helped.
ठीक है, Palak, thank you. But one last question.
Yes, sir.
Because this video is for the future aspirants of this examination, what are the 3 things that will hamper the preparation of a candidate? कि अगर आप अपने retrospectively देखो चीज़ों को, तो what would you tell a fresher कि भाई ये 3 चीज़ें मत करना, बाकी जो मर्जी कर लेना, आपकी सिलेक्शन नहीं होगी या फिर रुक जाएगी, बहुत देरी से होगी. What are those 3 things?
Okay. So one thing that I see nowadays and observe on daily basis is कि Telegram पे people waste a lot of time discussing about courses and the important materials that they should refer. So please stay away from this. Telegram is a great source, I must say. I used it for much of my preparation, but only if you know how to use it. But if you indulge in those unnecessary discussion on group and which coaching is better, this is not good, then that won't help. So I would say that stay away from this. Second, I would say is that if you have decided, so first, as I told earlier, that once you have analyzed the previous year questions and then you have decided, okay, this is the some coaching material, this is a document that I would refer and I would complete my preparation from this. Then after that, just stick to that one source. Don't hover around and ask for other sources. So example, for ethics, you are covering Crack Grade B course also, EduTaps also, any other also. So in that way, you kind of, you're lost in that only. You will not be able to cover it in a proper manner. So cover it and just do it holistically from one source only. And third thing which you should
ये तो एक ही है, ये तो आपने एक ही बताई है, सेकंड को आपने वन ही कर दिया.
हाँ जी.
टेलीग्राम पे बहुत सारा मटेरियल होता है, एक को स्टिक करना, ये एक ही है, तो दो और बताइए.
Okay sir. Second, so sir, as I can
ग्रिलिंग
say,
हो रही है, ग्रिलिंग.
इंटरव्यू में नहीं हुई, यहाँ हो रही है.
हाँ जी.
तो second I would say more on a motivation perspective में ही मैं बोलूँगी that people always say कि नहीं हो पा रहा है, as you told earlier, consistency lack है. See, motivation is something that comes from within. Even I had days, I had my lows. When I couldn't crack the examination in my first attempt, I was very disheartened. For a 1 month period, I would say that I was out of my zone only. I couldn't focus on anything. But it's only you who could bring yourself up. Someone told me that, Palak, you are going to be a grade B officer. Not your friends, not your family. You are going to be the one. So you should be the one who should be able to pick yourself up, in that zone when you're not feeling good or you're not that motivated. Only you should pick yourself and get back to your studies, because eventually it's you who will go there, it's you who will make up your career. So you should be able to do it for yourself. That thing should be there. And third thing, as I actually missed it highlighting in my interview preparation, and also one of the reasons for scoring 68 marks this time is self-confidence. That self-confidence, that should be practiced on a daily basis, and if you practice it on a daily basis, now that will reflect in your personality in interview as well. Because I remember that in my own interview, I was asked many questions that, that I felt uneasy with and I wasn't able to respond well. But confidence was one thing that I kept intact within myself. And that is the thing I believe that they noticed as well. And they rewarded me with such good marks. So self-confidence is something you should practice. Even if other people are saying you that, you're not performing good or you're not able to do well, check them off. It's not necessary. Just practice self-confidence within yourself. अपने पे भरोसा रखो, so everything falls in place.
सही है, बहुत अच्छा पलक ने चीजें बताई. एडुटैप का क्या रोल रहा पलक आपके सिलेक्शन में? छोटा सा रोल होता है हमारा, बड़ा रोल नहीं होता. वो छोटा सा रोल क्या था?
नहीं सर, I would say that for me too, you had a very big role to play, and personally Deepak sir, I would really like to thank you from the bottom of my heart, right from my SBI PO preparation to the phase 1, phase 2 last year, and this year also you have been a constant part of my journey. Thank you for that. And for EduTap, as I told earlier, I referred to EduTap for most of my preparation for phase 2, and that helped me gain a good understanding also, since I was not from an economics background, from an engineer background. So we often have that, pre-notion in mind that we don't have this background and we couldn't cover syllabus, economy kaise hoga and all those things. So I think that in that way, EduTap helped me a lot, and the kind of material I do provide to people, especially for the working aspirants who have short time, don't have that much time in hand. So the material comes in very handy. And also the interview guidance that you provided, that was really helpful. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Palak. एंड यहाँ पे मैं एक चीज़ बताना चाहता हूँ पलक के बारे में. शी इज़ वन ऑफ दोज वेरी फ्यू स्टूडेंट्स जो किसी की दी हुई एडवाइस को बहुत अच्छे से ग्रैस्प करते हैं. बिकॉज पलक, वी गिव एडवाइस टू लॉट ऑफ पीपल, बट वेरी इट इज़ वेरी रेयर दैट वी सी कि उस एडवाइस को बेस्ड ऑन एक्सपीरियंस कोई इम्प्लीमेंट भी कर रहा है. तो आई वॉन्ट टू थैंक यू कि जो एडवाइस आपको दी जा रही थी, अब अपना दिमाग भी लगाओ. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा दिमाग अपना बंद कर लो, बट यू एक्चुअली इम्प्लीमेंटेड दैट. एंड आई एम वेरी वेरी श्योर, इन एसबीआई इंटरव्यू ऑल्सो आई टोल्ड कि आप आरबीआई बनोगे. आई एम वेरी श्योर कि शी इज नाउ हेडेड टू न्यूअर हाइट्स. शी विल नॉट स्टॉप एट आरबीआई, शी इज हेडेड टुवर्ड्स न्यूअर हाइट्स. आई प्रॉमिस यू दिस in this interview. Right. Thank you so much, Palak, for coming to this to our studio today and guiding the experience. Thank you so much. Thank you.